Thursday the 12th of February. From the MEN newsroom, this is Channel M's Lunchtime News, and these are today's headlines. Literally getting away with murder, a warning not enough's been done to stop another doctor killing patients like Harold Shipman did. Also coming up, new hope for patients with a rare form of cancer. We have reaction from one sufferer.
Anything that you hope can increase your lifespan when you know that you've got cancer is wonderful. You know, you grab onto anything.
And the virtual school. We meet the children who can have lessons from the comfort of their own homes.
You can communicate from outside the classroom and share ideas.
Good afternoon. We start this lunchtime with a chilling warning from the judge who investigated the serial killing doctor Harold Shipman. Dame Janet Smith's been speaking out more than 10 years after the Hyde GP was first charged. She's worried not enough's been done to stop a repeat of his crimes. 5 years ago, her inquiry called for a complete break with the past and said a way must be found to ensure that all deaths receive a degree of scrutiny and investigation appropriate to their facts and circumstances. Now she's concerned at the lack of progress. She says once you realise that you can have a dishonest doctor and a malevolent doctor, then it is obvious that under our system that doctor can get away with murder. At the centre of her concern is that at the moment a death certificate only has to be signed by one doctor, even after current reforms of the coroner's system. Well, let's get some more on our top story now from Hyde and our reporter Nina Warhurst.
When Harold Shipman was based on this quiet high street in Hyde, he was a trusted member of a close-knit community. But he turned out to be responsible for the deaths of up to 200 people. As Dame Janet Smith breaks her silence for the first time, how do the people of Hyde feel about the fact that not all of the Shipman Inquiry recommendations have been put in place?
Well, I do think it's wrong, and I do think that something should be done about it. I mean, he was at it for years, wasn't he, with nobody knowing anything. Well, I mean, there should be things in place so that things can be checked.
Do you think in Hyde it's harmed people's trust with doctors and people's relationships?
I think it has in a lot of places. People of an older age that, you know, perhaps go to doctors more regularly, I suppose it would make them feel, you know, a lot worse and perhaps not want to go as much.
The friends of mine were patients of Dr. Shipman, and they swore by him. They said he was a brilliant doctor, so all the changes should be implemented, without a doubt. That's what I think.
There should have been lots of things put in place straight after that. They should have learned by the mistakes. And if they haven't done that, there's something wrong.
Father Dennis Marr is a priest at St Paul's Church in Hyde and counselled some of the victims' families through their ordeal.
It will certainly bring up some bad memories and remind people again of what happened in the past. But I think they're going to be more shocked by the recommendations that she made have not been put into practice. There was no point in having all this inquiry, all the money it cost, and dragging the whole thing up again. And if the recommendations are not going to be put into practice, I would be very upset and very disappointed.
Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
Greater Manchester's firefighters are hitting out at plans for more cuts to the service after already having to cope with bigger cuts than anywhere else in England. The force here is one of only 5 in the country not meeting a key target in reducing fire deaths. But in the last 4 years, they've lost almost £30 million from their budget and are now being told to lose another 50 frontline firefighters. Peter Taylor from the FBU wants councillors to think twice before approving those plans, saying the cuts being looked at are significant and will hit services. It is not acceptable to put fire crews and their officers in this position. The cuts are unnecessary and unwanted. A man arrested over the murder of a teenager killed in Withington a year ago has been released on bail. The 18-year-old's been questioned over the shooting of Lewis Brathwaite. He was gunned down in a betting shop in January of last year and died 12 days later. A man's been charged with murdering a woman found dead at her home in Stockport last month. Patricia Smales was pronounced dead at the house in Gatley on January the 16th. Michael Smales is appearing before magistrates in Stockport. Gordon Brown's had to face some tough questions from a group of senior MPs over last year's banking crisis that led to massive government bailouts of several high street names. The Prime Minister's taking part in his twice-yearly question and answer session with them. He's defended giving the top job at the Financial Services Authority to the former head of HBOS, Sir James Crosby, who resigned from his post with the FSA yesterday. There had been criticism of that appointment when HBOS ended up being taken over. A new drug has been given the go-ahead to be used for patients with a rare form of blood cancer. It's now been given approval by the group in charge of new treatments. Ben Bland has been to meet one sufferer who's welcoming the decision.
For the past 3 years, Paul Skinner and his wife Steph have lived with the knowledge that he has an incurable bone marrow cancer called multiple myeloma. His spine has collapsed because of it, and he can only get around outside in a wheelchair, forcing him to give up his job as a graphic designer. A drug called lenalidomide, or Revlimid, could give him an extra 3 years of life, and it's just been approved for use on the NHS.
Anything that you hope can increase your lifespan when you know that you've got a cancer is wonderful. You know, you grab onto anything.
After chemotherapy and stem cell treatment, Paul's cancer is now in remission. But if it returns, he would be eligible for this new drug. It doesn't come cheap. At £200 a pill, it would cost £36,000 for a year's treatment. But the drug company has struck a deal. If the NHS pays for the first 2 years of treatment, the manufacturer will pay for the rest.
If the cost could be met by the local NHS or whoever it is that pays for the treatment, for myself, and I'm sure I speak for anyone with the disease, it would be absolutely wonderful. You can't put a price on, how long you've got left.
And now that lenalidomide has been approved by the National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence, each primary care trust will have to provide it where clinically appropriate, offering hope to people like Paul. Ben Bland, Channel N News.
Wigan footballer Marlon King has been charged with attacking a woman in a nightclub. The striker, who's currently on loan to Middlesbrough, is accused of sexually assaulting and punching a 20-year-old in London back in December. He's due before magistrates later this month. A 51-year-old woman has been left with several deep cuts to her face after being assaulted by a robber in Blakely. Josephine Maguire was walking on White Moss Road late on Monday evening when a man grabbed her handbag. She refused to hand it over, and he then started hitting her and knocked her to the floor till he got the bag. She's needed stitches to her face, and police have called her attacker vicious. 2 schools here in Greater Manchester are getting thousands of pounds to improve their sports facilities. It's part of a nationwide plan to make sure there are pitches which can be used during the evening and also in all weathers. Cardinal Langley Catholic High in Rochdale is to get £350,000 for an artificial turf pitch. Bury's Broad Oak Sports College will also get £65,000 to be spent on its fields. Now, gone are the days when, unless children turned up to school in person, they would learn virtually nothing. Now it seems there's nothing to stop them learning virtually. Georgia Calvin-Smith's been finding out why.
These pupils may be miles away from Newell Green High School, but by accessing an exact replica of their classroom in the online world Second Life, they can use avatars or virtual representations of themselves to communicate in real time with teachers and students back at the real school. By using Second Life, pupils can participate in classes wherever they are or wherever they want to be.
I think it's particularly useful to get students to explore environments that, we can't normally show them. For instance, in a science lesson, you could take them on a tour around, the bits and pieces of a nuclear power station, somewhere which obviously you couldn't go normally.
The school's hoping that by using Second Life, they can make remote learning easier, meaning that kids who can't be in school for one reason or the other, say they've been in hospital, they've been excluded or gone travelling because of family reasons, can still take part in the same lessons as their peers.
Because you can communicate from outside the classroom and share ideas.
It's quite impressive, actually. Technology has come a long way.
But what's important for us is that they're able to experience the real world environment at the same time as being connected to the experiences of their colleagues who are at the moment are back at school but could be in many places across the city at a given time.
Today, these students have come to an exhibition to choose furniture for their classroom back at the real school. Because they can keep in touch from afar, it means everyone's still participating in the decisions. But whether it's in real life or second life, school rules still apply.
If they behave badly in cyberspace or the virtual world, they'll receive the same sort of discipline.
The virtual classrooms are located on a virtual island that represents Manchester online. The City Council is investing in the Second Life scheme, hoping that schools across the city will sign up to a system that could change students' experience of distance learning forever. Georgia Calvin-Smith, Channel M News.
Right, let's take a look at the lunchtime sports headlines now, and starting with some financial news from the Theatre of Dreams. Here's Sam Gubb.
Thank you, James. Well, yes, Manchester United have been kept off the top of football's money league, but only due to the fall in the value of the pound. Real Madrid hold on to the top spot as the largest revenue-generating club for the 2007-2008 season after raking in £289.6 million. However, United would have claimed pole position after increasing their revenue by 21% up to £257.1 million, but didn't due to the hit on the exchange rate. Barcelona climbed to third with £244.4 million, with Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool also making the top 10. Well, keeping with United, and veteran winger Ryan Giggs has signed a one-year contract extension. He'll now remain at Old Trafford until 2010. And the former Manchester City owner, Taskin Shinawat, has been removed from the list of the club's honorary presidents, despite still owning 10% of the club. And in League One, Stockport County have rearranged their outstanding fixture at Colchester. It's to now be played next Tuesday. And England were in action last night in Seville against European champion Spain. And here's a quick look at how they got on.
European champions were always going to make it difficult for Fabio Capello's men, and 10 minutes before the break, Valencia striker David Villa showed why he's one of Europe's best strikers after weaving his way through the England defence and slotting the ball past the helpless David James. Capello made 5 changes at the break, including Matthew Upson, who gave the foul away, which allowed Xabi to swing in the free kick, where substitute Fernando Llorente outjumped Upson and placed his header past Rob Green in the England goal, securing the victory for the Spaniards. It ended 2-0 and certainly put a dampener on David Beckham's milestone after he earned his 108th cap for his country.
In Rugby League, Swinton's Dean Gorton is out for 3 months after tearing a shoulder muscle while training. And switching codes to Rugby Union, in tonight's edition of Talking Sharks, Will Perry looks ahead to England's Six Nations clash against Wales.
I've played there twice in the past and never won, so you know, I know what it's like. It's, you know, from the crowd and that point of view, you know, it is loud and it's not intimidating, but you're aware of it. But you know, that's what you want to play in front of. You know, I've said it to you in the past. You know, you don't want to. You know, you don't want to go somewhere that's quiet and there's, you know, it's like playing for sale. You know, if you play, you know, you play in front of 2,000, it's rubbish. You know, you play in front of 10, 11,000 at Edgeley, it's brilliant. And similar on this, it's just a bigger stage. You know, to play in front of 80,000 mad Welsh going crazy and wanting you to lose, it's, you know, it's the best environment you can play in.
You know, the Welsh are enjoying having a successful rugby team and they're playing some attractive rugby as well, which is good. So it will be doubly difficult. Yeah, but we have to turn that round. The expectations on them to win and to play well. We haven't got that much expectation, so we need to get in there and fight, and we can also play. And we need to battle and you know, quieten the crowd down. All those things you do when you're away from home. But that comes again with you know, you've got to execute. You've got to be accurate. Silly penalties, mistakes, you know, will get punished. So. The team's aware of that. The team spoke about that themselves. That was what they said, you know, the improvement they need to make from last week.
It is a real hostile environment. You go down there, you know, as you drive through from the coach to the ground, you know, you get some irate Welsh fans. They're gesticulating from the crowd before you've even got in the ground. And when you're in the ground and Wales are singing the anthem, you know, you can feel the emotion and people are bouncing off the walls for the performance. So, you know, if you allow a Welsh team to get momentum and play this you know, very classy brand of rugby that they're playing at the moment, then we could find ourselves in real trouble. But the whole point of us is being players that want to be competitive, and we're going to go out there and really push them and challenge them in everything we do and make sure that the afternoon is ours, not theirs.
Well, that's all the sport from me for now. Join me again at 5 o'clock. Well, we'll hear from Lancashire's new head coach Peter Moores after he was introduced at a press conference earlier today.
Thanks very much, Sam. Plenty more still to come on the Lunchtime News, including new fears for the future of Jodrell Bank, and also extra help for dementia sufferers is welcomed here in Greater Manchester.
Having more memory clinics will mean that more people are diagnosed earlier, more people have access to the right types of treatment. Those same people will be able to make better decisions about their life.
Welcome back to the Lunchtime News this Thursday afternoon. Don't forget you can always watch this programme again and also check out all our main stories online by logging on to channelm.co.uk. A quick taste of what's on there right now and pictures of a large haul of stolen items that Manchester's police are struggling to reunite with their rightful owners, and also a very expensive suit that's been commissioned from a city centre tailor made of gold. That's at channelm.co.uk. Next, mental health experts here in Greater Manchester are welcoming plans for a new network of so-called memory clinics in every town. Its aim is to put dementia on the same footing in the NHS as other major illnesses, such as cancer and heart disease.
Modern life is complex enough, even when our mental capacity is at its best. And that's why dementia, which involves the serious loss of memory and language capability, is so devastating. The effects of dementia are dealt with every day by dementia care consultant Colin Sheeran.
In the UK, there are over 750,000 people with a dementia. In 10 years' time, it's predicted that that will be over 1 million.
Colin Sheeran believes that opening a memory clinic in every town is a good move.
Having more memory clinics will mean that more people are diagnosed earlier, more people have access to the right types of treatment. Those same people will be able to make better decisions about their life, and that's actually what will have the major impact in the future on care homes like the Burnham Court. If people can make better decisions about the future, then care homes will be better able to meet those needs.
One very simple approach is to display familiar items in the hope of exercising whatever memory capacity residents have.
Dementia is so devastating because it degrades memory and speech. And that's why something as simple as this old gramophone can be so useful for somebody who's affected. Because to most people, it's just a charming reminder of a bygone age. But to somebody who's living with dementia, it can be a great stimulus to memory and thus promote conversation.
It looks like the government's plan to expand memory clinics hasn't come a moment too soon.
I think the time is right. I think there's a realisation that dementia isn't a problem that's going to go away, it's going to get worse.
Kevin Duffy for Channel M News.
2 satellites have crashed in space in the first recorded accident of its kind. The impact sent massive clouds of debris out some 500 miles over Siberia. Experts say they hope it will burn up in the atmosphere, but it'll take weeks to analyse exactly what damage was done. Jodrell Bank's future has been thrown into new doubt. The man in charge of science funding for the country, Professor Keith Mason, says the observatory is not suitable for modern astronomy.
Standing proud in the Cheshire countryside, Jodrell Bank's been responsible for some of the greatest astronomical achievements of the past century. Now there are fears it could become an educational museum within 5 years. Professor Keith Mason, chief executive of the body that funds Jodrell Bank, has told a committee of MPs that it's not a suitable site for radio astronomy in the modern world, saying there's too much light and sound interference nearby. It's not the first time it's been threatened with closure. Only last year, a huge campaign was launched to keep it open when doubts were cast over its funding. Jodrell Bank's home to the Lovell telescope, famous for revealing to the world that Russia's Sputnik probe had successfully returned to Earth. And it's also provided the greatest proof yet of Einstein's theory of relativity. Lessons learned by thousands of Manchester schoolchildren who have visited it over the decades. Emma Morris for Channel M News.
Now, last month we told you that the children of Wigan had been asked to vote for their Lollipop Idol of the Year. The winner has now been announced, and Nina Warhurst's been to meet him and some of his adoring fans.
It's been a tense month in Wigan, but the votes have been counted and the results are in. The winner of the 2009 Lollipop Idol of the Year is... Dennis Getz has been a lollipop patrol for 9 years. The competition was close, but it was the sheer volume of votes combined with glowing reports from the kids that secured Dennis the crown. Like any true hero, he said he never dreamed he'd win.
Not in the slightest, because there's patrols in Wigan been doing it 15, 20 years.
Well, he might have been surprised, but his army of fans certainly wasn't.
I wasn't really shocked, to be honest, because he's probably the nicest lollipop man that I've ever seen.
Ever?
Ever. He always has a smile on his face, and no matter what the weather, he's always there for us.
Even when it's raining, he's smiling?
Yeah.
Wow, what about you?
I think the same as Abby, but I think he's like kind and caring. You know, sometimes when you just don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning, and then when you see Dennis, he's just got a big smile on his face. He has to put all his cars parking on the white line. He has to step out into the road every morning. He comes, whatever the weather.
Not easy that, Dylan, is it?
No, he's always there with a smile.
And what's his secret? Well, getting to know the children.
Well, we're living locally, and I know a lot of the children outside school, because quite a few live in the adjoining streets to me. Some actually live in the same street. They spend more time in ours than I do. Even those what's left have gone to high school, they still come and see you most nights and stop and talk to you. They just never walk past you. Once a lollipop man, you're always a lollipop man.
So, Dennis, you've won £300 of holiday vouchers and £200 spending money. What are you going to do with it?
Probably weekend at Centre Park, something like that.
All right, well, I'm free, you know.
Well, don't tell the wife.
Well, I won't if you won't.
Right, well.
Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
Right, let's take a look at the weather and possibly a slightly milder weekend than recent days as well. Michelle Eagleton has the forecast.
Well, it has started off pretty frosty this morning. We saw a bit of ice on the cars and on the roads as well, but it does seem to have worn off as the morning wore on, and into the afternoon it is particularly milder. We're seeing highs of 5 and 6 today, but there'll be a big breeze creeping through from the westerly direction, so it is going to make it feel a little bit chilly if you are outdoors most of the day. So wrap up nice and warm if you are going to be heading outdoors. And the picture from 9 o'clock, as you can see, was very, very dark actually. We had a lot of cloud around right across the region, and we're keeping that cloud this afternoon, and then maybe 3, 4 o'clock possibly we are going to see a few showers. They won't last that long though. They should clear up by tonight, and into the evening it should be mainly dry, although the next couple of days aren't that great. Valentine's weekend, bit of a washout really, because Friday and Saturday are looking particularly rainy. Sunday, bit of cloud, as is Monday, and we will see those temperatures getting nicer. Highs of 10 expected for next week.
This is the Lunchtime News from Channel M. Our top stories this Thursday. The judge who led the inquiry into the serial killing Dr. Harold Shipman says she's worried systems haven't been tightened up to stop another doctor getting away with murder again in the future. Dame Janet Smith wants the system for issuing death certificates changed so it no longer relies on the honesty of just one doctor. Greater Manchester's firefighters are speaking out against plans for more cuts to the service. They want councillors to think twice before getting rid of more frontline jobs, after figures show the service is one of only 5 in the country missing targets on saving lives. Wigan footballer Marlon King has been charged with attacking a woman in a nightclub. The striker, who's currently on loan to Middlesbrough, is accused of sexually assaulting and punching a 20-year-old in London back in December. He's due before magistrates later this month. We'll have more on all those stories in our early evening news with Andy Crane from 5 o'clock tonight. But that's pretty much it from the Lunchtime News for today. Have a very good afternoon. We'll see you again same time tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.